Good morning and welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Kathy Cacavalli and I want to welcome you to our spiritual home. Both those brave souls are here in person and I hope many of you are joining us online. We are so glad you are here. I have a few announcements to share this morning. First, if you are a visitor, please join us for an in-person or virtual orientation and tour today. The in-person orientation and tours are happening immediately following the 9:30 and 11:15 services. You can meet us in the library right outside and to the left. The online tour will happen at 1 p.m. on Zoom. You can find the link in the pastoral update email from this morning or by going to muuf.org/virtual and scroll down to Sunday's events. This Tuesday, the worship arts team is meeting. If you're interested in helping to think about preparing services and what topics should be covered, anyone is welcome to join that meeting. If you'd like to participate, email Allison for information about how to join. Next week, we plan to have our next Odyssey, which will feature Elbjorg Birkenkamp. Stay tuned for any possible schedule changes, just in case. While the Odysseys follow the second service on the first Sunday of the month, it could move later in the month. The Odyssey program is our monthly chance to hear the stories of one of our members and their sense of what is involved in leading a meaningful life. The video presentation is followed by a Q&A. The Lunch Bunch will resume meeting the second Sunday of February. And finally, our collection is going to support New Jersey Together and our Morris area chapter. We invite you to give generously via text, via our website, www.muuf.org, or via cash in our basket, or checks in the basket. Or you can mail checks in as well. We take the money any way you send it. Once again, welcome to newcomers and long-timers. We are so glad to be here together. And now, if you would join with me in reading the chalice lighting words by James Villa Blake. Love is the spirit of our fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now if you would turn to responsive reading number 437 in the gray book. Is it online as well?
It's in the order of service, I believe, but they can also follow along. I'll be sharing the other part so folks online can hear it.
Okay. Let us worship. Let us worship with our eyes and ears and fingertips.
Let us love the world through heart and mind and body.
We feed our eyes upon the mystery and revelation in the faces of our brothers and sisters.
We seek to know the wistfulness of the very young and the very old, the wistfulness of people in all times of life.
We seek to understand the shyness behind arrogance, the fear behind pride, the tenderness behind clumsy strength, the anguish behind cruelty.
All life flows into a great common life if we will only open our eyes to our companions.
Let us worship not in bowing down, not with closed eyes and stopped ears.
Let us worship with the opening of all the windows of our beings, with the full outstretching of our spirits.
Life comes with singing and laughter, with tears and confiding, with a rising wave too great to be held in the mind and heart and body, to those who have fallen in love with life.
Let us worship and let us learn to love.
Now, if you'll join in our opening song, number 347, I believe Stearns will give us instructions on what key to hum in.
Detailed instructions. I invite those of you in the room to hum behind your masks and those of you at home to sing with gusto. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined. With body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion, and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Today, I'm going to read you a story. So for us, we have many people in our faith who lead us in wisdom and in thinking. And one of those people is a Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh. And as we mentioned last week, he passed away a week ago. But I wanted to, in honor of him, and because his teachings are really important to even what we're talking today, read a book from him, and then we're going to do an exercise. All right? And then, for the kids in the room, we're going to go sledding, all right? So bear with me. We're almost there. I know where their priorities are. But we're going to do this. So I'm going to read the story called Mindful Movements. And then we're going to do the mindful movements. Let me get to the beginning here. Get the first slide there. Mindful movements. This is Thich Nhat Hanh. His friends call him Thai. He is a Vietnamese monk. Thich Nhat Hanh grew up in Vietnam at a time where there was a lot of conflict and violence. He was exiled because of his outspoken peace activities during the Vietnam War. Thich Nhat Hanh saw that it was very important for each person to practice finding peace within themselves. So in 1982, he founded Plum Village, a community of monks, nuns, and laymen and laywomen in the south of France. When people have peace in themselves, there can be peace in the world. And that is the practice every day. One way we can develop peace within ourselves is just by sitting quietly and breathing. And that's called meditation. With each in-breath, we notice that we are what we are breathing in. With each out-breath, we can notice we are breathing out. And when we breathe like this, our body and mind come together. And when our body and mind come together, we are capable of living life more fully, and we are able to enjoy what is going on in and around us each moment. And often, it helps to meditate with other people. Sitting together, breathing together, we can feel very peaceful and happy. But sometimes we need to stop sitting in one place and start moving around. How many people need to move around right now? I see a lot of you. It's fine. And start moving around. Thich Nhat Hanh has developed an exercise called 10 mindful movements. The practice of the mindful movement is to bring awareness and enjoyment to our bodies and into the movements we make with our bodies. Mindful movements are very simple, but very deep. And they are taught and practiced in Plum Village for over 2 decades. Probably 4 decades now. The exercises are easy to do at home by yourself or with others, and you can do them inside or outside at the park, or you can do them every day or just once in a while. Do each movement 4 times before moving on to the next one. So, does anyone want to come up here and do these with me? Any kids want to come stand up here with me? All right, you can just come up. All right, so stand up. You can stand up here, you can stand on the floor there. We'll do them together. I'm going to put my mask on because you guys are getting closer to me, which is fine. But we want to be safe, right? All right. So everyone stand with their feet apart. And folks at home, hey, can you guys wave to everyone in the camera there? See the camera there? Everyone at home? Folks at home can do this too. Adults can do this. You can stand up and do it or not, whatever you want to do. So we're just going to stand with our feet, like shoulder width apart. Right? Hold it. Relax our arms. But we have to pretend like a string is holding at the top of our head. So we stand up straight, right? We don't slouch. Let's take a deep breath in. Ready? And a breath out. Breath in. And a breath out. All right, our first movement is going to be very simple. Everyone look at me. We're going to bring our hands up like this and down. And so when you bring your hands up, we're going to do it much more deliberately. We breathe in, and when our hands go down, we breathe out, all right? So we're going to do it 4 times. Ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. All right, now next one, we're going to do, it's very similar, but instead of just bringing them here, we're going to reach up as high as we can, all right? Take your hands, put them by your side like this. Breathe in, all the way up, and out. Breathe in, and out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. All right. Our next one, we're going to get a little more complicated. We're going to take our hands out like this, and we're going to bring them in, touch our shoulders, right? So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Every time we're doing these motions, we need to think about what your body is doing, where your breath is going, what muscles are working. All right? So here's our next one. We're going to go back and forth on this one. So we're just going to, in a big arm loops like this, right? So we'll go in when we get up to the top, and out as we come down. And then we'll go the other way. In, out. Other way. In, out. In, out. Very good. All right, number 5. This one, we're going to bend at our waist. We're going to bend over. We're going to roll over. Breathing in to the back, and then breathing out to the side. We'll go the other way. Breathing in to the back. Breathing out to the other side. Other way. Breathe in to the back. Breathe out front. One more time. Breathe in. We go back. Breathe out. We go forward. Very good. Number 6. This exercise is called the frog. So we have to put our heels together, and we stand up on our toes, and then, this one's tricky. I'm not very good at it. And I invite everyone to not be good at it together. We're going to see this lady in the pig here. We're going to get down, breathing in, and then breathe out, coming up. Breathe in, down, breathing out. If you're really good, you keep your heels off the ground. If you're like me, you put them on the ground. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Is that 4? Next one is number 7. This one we're going to reach up. We're going to bend down first and then reach up and come back down. So reach up to the sky, breathing in, and go down, breathing out. Up, breathing in, down, breathing out. Up, breathing in, down, breathing out. One more time. Up, breathing in, and down, breathing out. Right? Now this one is like a kick. It's called number 8. So we're going to lift our foot up. It's going to require some balance. So apparently, you can hold on to things we want. Kick out, then come back in, and down. We'll do the other foot, right? So breathe in, kicking out, and out, kicking down. Does that make sense? 1, out, down. 2, in, out as we come back. Breathe in, and down, up, and down. We're learning the balance. So most things we're learning more than others. Self-included. All right, so this one we're going to continue to balance a little bit. We're going to make circles with our feet. We're just going to hang out here and go around, out, and in. All right, so let's do it 4 times on each side. So 4 here. In and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. We'll do the other foot now. In, out, in, and out, in, and out. One more time. In and out. All right, and then our 10th one, we are going to strike a pose a little bit. We're going to put our foot out like this here. We're going to go in and out. 1, in, out. In and out. In and out. We'll do the other side, all right? In and out. In and out. In and out. Now, come, let's stand with our feet together. Take a couple more breaths in and out. One more in and out. Very nice. It was good to do that all together, huh? Together in worship here. So, now for my children, we are going to go outside. All right, so let's go. We're going to go out this door over here, all right? Parents, if you want to come too, you can come out that way.
For those who aren't sledding, now is the time in our service for the offertory. This week's offertory will go to support New Jersey Together and our Morris area chapter of New Jersey Together. We invite you to give generously via text, our website, cash in our basket, checks in the basket, or checks in the mail. Thank you. Our website is www.muuf.org.
Good morning. I think I'm having a midlife crisis. I know, but Stearns, I hear you cry. You can't possibly be old enough for a midlife crisis. I heard you say it, it's okay. Well, I'll have you know I'm 37 and a half, and I do find myself looking around, doubting every life decision I've made, wondering where I'm headed, wondering what I've accomplished, and of course, the telltale sign of a midlife crisis. I bought a new car. So based on my symptoms, Dr. Google tells me that I might be experiencing, or at least approaching, a midlife crisis. Like everything these days, these ideas surfacing in my head probably have more than a little to do with the pandemic and the state of affairs in our country and our world. Wherever these annoying, unuseful thoughts come from, they love to burrow deep into my brain, trying their hardest to convince me that time has escaped me, that it's too late. Thankfully, I'm lucky to have two jobs that I love. one here at the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship as your Director of Music Ministries, and the other teaching voice and performance to undergraduate musical theater majors at University of the Arts in Philadelphia. While there are many, many differences in my roles in these two institutions, there is one remarkable similarity. Both of my jobs involve planned, intentional time spent in a shared space on a weekly basis. Here at the Fellowship, we call this time worship, among lots of other names. At school, we call it voice lessons. Whatever we call it, it's time that we set aside to be together and focus on what's important to us. In both places, what actually happens during that time can vary wildly. We might have a sermon, readings, ritual, prayer, of course, music, any combination of those. And a voice lesson for an undergraduate musical theater major might be 30 minutes of singing, might be 30 minutes of therapy, might be 30 minutes of both. It's my belief that in both places, whatever happens in that room or this room during that time is exactly what needed to happen that day. Period. Of course, it's not like you can just write intentional time on your calendar. Spaces like this are cultivated, not conjured. They're grown from trust and respect and a deep compassion for all present. Compassion is contagious, from person to person, to place, to time. My students may not practice every day outside of their lessons, and hey, maybe you don't think about church stuff every day outside of this room. But isn't it wonderful that we do have this time when we can turn our attention and intention to what's really important to us as Unitarian Universalists, as a community, as humans? It's sort of strange that I have these two jobs that involve weekly events because I have a lot of trouble committing to doing something once a week. Establishing a routine involving intentional time for myself isn't something I usually grant myself permission for. I facilitate this time and create these spaces for others with regularity and ease. Why is it so hard for me to do it for myself? As I sat down to write this reflection, I got comfy on the couch with my laptop, I put on my Deep Focus playlist, and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, which was very, very difficult. What if someone calls me? What if there's an important email? Can I really dedicate the time to this reflection this afternoon that I need to? Obviously, I ended up writing it. And while the experience wasn't exactly what I would call worship, thanks to the Deep Focus playlist and the Do Not Disturb button, I was able to create a space and a time for myself where I could turn toward what was important. Time with intention. So how do we shape what is of worth? Time is of worth. How do we shape time? We set it aside. We infuse it with shared intention, compassion, connection, inspiration, experience. And then we keep doing it. When I look at time through this lens, things don't seem so bad. How lucky am I that I get to spend this many hours per week in these holy, compassion-filled spaces? I think I'll postpone the midlife crisis indefinitely.
Thank you, Stearns, for helping us to shape time here. We don't have any milestones that have come forward to us this morning via email or via cards, but I did want to just hold those around the Northeast, a little further north of us, who may be quite buried under snow and may be struggling with different things around water and electricity. May all the individuals and families who need help from their community find that help today. And now I invite you, and let me just check sound-wise. Alex, this is on for the folks online. Is it also online in here? Can people, okay, good, just checking. So. I want to invite people into a time of reflective meditation and prayer, and I want to invite Kathy to join me up here. Our prayer this morning is connected to our 6 sources. So in praise of our 6 sources, and we're going to light a candle for the wisdom of each. And so often when we connect people to our faith, we remember to talk about the covenant of 7 principles and now 8, but part of that covenant are these 6 sources. So in praise of our 6 sources, let us gather our minds and hearts in a spirit of prayer and reflective meditation. One, personal experiences of mystery and wonder. We give thanks for the blanket of snow outside, which reflects the brilliance of the sun. As we find ourselves squinting, moving along this morning, may we remember that life at times is dazzling, and sometimes celebration is what we feel in our hearts, especially when we are sliding down a hill right behind me saying, "Whee!" Let us give thanks. 2, wise people whose lives remind us to act for justice, compassion, and love. We give thanks for the prophets among us and for the ordinary people who stretch themselves in ways that they are able to be prophetic, to lead us to become peace activists like Thich Nhat Hanh, to lead us to view all beings as part of our family, to lead us to care for our earth, to lead us to treat each and every human being with dignity, to lead us to speak truth to power and to break the silences which must be broken. We give thanks for all of these. 3, ethical and spiritual wisdom from the world's religions. We give thanks for the religion of Islam, which invites us into so many wise teachings, including asking the question, what do we submit our will to? Is it love? Is it God? Is it a spirit of peace? Or the wisdom of Buddhism, which bids us ask the question, what can we do to alleviate suffering? What can we do to accept suffering is a part of life, and then to go forth and cease the actions and the habits that increase suffering for ourselves, for our neighbors, for all beings. 4, Jewish and Christian teachings on God's love and loving our neighbors. We give thanks for the opportunity to serve alongside our interfaith neighbors in programs like RAMP, Refugee Assistance Morris Partners, that offer us the opportunity to help families from Afghanistan to settle here among us and to build lives of meaning and purpose and connection. We give thanks for our partner in today's offering, New Jersey Together, which allows us to work with our interfaith neighbors to decrease racial disparities in criminal justice, to increase affordable housing, and to expand access to health care. We give thanks for all of these. 5, humanist teachings on the use of reason and the discoveries of science. We give thanks for the scientists, the researchers, the medical care professionals who are searching for ways to cure and alleviate the challenges that come along with COVID-19. May they be guided by reason and science, and may they continue to develop vaccines and viral antidotes that help people to feel better and to survive and to thrive. And 6, our final one, earth-centered teachings on living in harmony with nature. We give thanks for all those who have taught us to live in harmony with the land, with the air, with the water. We give thanks for the water, and we vow to be protectors, not just to play in it in the form of snow, but to be water protectors, to preserve fresh and clean water for all people and all creatures. We give thanks for our Mother Earth, who gives us life. And we give thanks for these 6 sources which nourish our spiritual lives, which nourish our worship and our religious education program, which nourish our 7 and now 8 principles. We give thanks for their being a part of us. Amen, and blessed be, and may it be so.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find these the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
Earth, my body, water, my blood, fire, my breath, and air, my spirit. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. I remember singing those words as a teenager in a hotel ballroom in Hollywood, Florida. It was midnight. And at our age, that seemed like the perfect time for a worship service. There were probably 80 of us in attendance, youth from all over the country and Canada. Given that we were at General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, it was also notable that there were at least as many different senses of style as there were people in the room. Everything from pearls and cardigans to blue hair and creative piercings to handmade outfits. The one common denominator was that we all had bare feet, having been asked to take off our shoes when we entered that space. Actually, quite an intimate thing in a group of people that you had just met 4 days earlier. The room was lit by a soft glow of 80 tea lights in front of every person in attendance, and a ceramic flaming chalice was in the center of our human circle. The candlelight danced off of the enormous blue paisley patterned scarf with flecks of silver, which reached to the four corners of the room, with an object placed at each to remind us of the elements: earth, water, fire, air. To tell you the truth, with the lights during the daytime at the business meeting I had attended in that same space, it seemed rather sterile. And so it was all the more surprising to see that place transfigured into holy ground through chanting, fire, and all the elements. The beauty of an adorned fabric, the beauty of so many different kinds of people, many more expressions of the human spirit than I was used to seeing in my smaller youth circle in Manhattan. How strangely I felt so connected to all of humanity and all of nature. A deep sense that what coursed through my veins was the very same source of life that coursed through the body of earth. A deep sense that we were in the presence of a spirit that bound us together in that room, and yet always moved with us in other spaces where we were less aware. Yes, dare I say it, in a sterile ballroom, the holy crept into all the crevices of that place. And by the end, we were dancing, and I could feel the warmth of where our bodies had been sitting underneath my bare feet. It was magnificent to feel so deeply aware and alive, to find myself awake at midnight, and to see that all that had preceded that moment was slumber. Later, I remembered reading a commentary about holy ground. It went back to one of what I call a first story, to the image of Moses and that burning bush. He too was suddenly deeply aware of a connection to the universe and all that is holy. He too was asked to take off his sandals in God's presence. Rather than dressing up, sacred space invites us to share fully who we are, right down to the toes of our being. What is also important in that biblical story, as is the case with my story in that ballroom, the mountain on which Moses stood seemed perfectly ordinary until that encounter. It is what happened there between Moses and God, an awareness and a fiery call to serve his people in the name of love and justice and compassion and 1,000 other names, that caused the consecration of that ground. And now to this day, many stories are told about that very place on which holy encounters have been layered generation after generation. Sometimes a place that is sterile can be transformed. Sometimes a place in nature comes to be revered. Sometimes humans locate a spot and create a temple, a church, a mosque, a fellowship, a labyrinth, or a cairn of stones. Human beings need these kinds of spaces that remind us where we come from and where we are destined to go. We are made of the four holy elements, and to them we shall return. The truth is that the holy touches all spaces of the earth, for it is infinite. Or if you prefer, the fountain of wisdom that equates with enlightenment is contained in and by all that is and ever will be. However, as finite human beings, we need to erect spaces that call to us. Take off your shoes and feel the embrace of my warmth. Take off all the illusions you have put on that separate you from the rest of humanity and you from earth, the place of your birth and the place of your ultimate rest. Stop here a while and let me whisper or shout or sing to you of your charge. Serve with your people in the name of love, justice, hope, compassion, and 1,000 other virtuous names. This space, both the physical space of our sanctuary and the virtual space of your phone, tablet, or computer bringing you here, is holy ground now. Not just because of its physical elements, such as the octagonal shape that was created to counter the notion of a front, people who belong in the front and a back. This room can be rearranged so that any point can be the front. Wisdom does not just come from one direction, but every direction and everywhere. The space orients us. But it is also holy ground because of what we do here. Gather for worship on Sundays, sometimes weekdays, as well as for the worships or milestone ceremonies where we celebrate the beginning of life with a child dedication, or the ending of life in a memorial service, or the vows that people share as they choose to unite their hearts in marriage. And not just this room, but so many corners of this wider space, our labyrinth behind me, our terrace room, which used to be the sanctuary, our memorial garden, and more. Recently, one of our weekly discussion groups called Lunch with Your Principals asked me to join them for a conversation on today's topic. What does worship mean to Unitarian Universalists? A quick note, I know that some people in our community wrestle with a word like worship, having come out of traditions where worship meant specifically worshiping God. As a lifelong Unitarian Universalist, I can share with you that we have a broader understanding of that word, worship. Unitarian Universalists look to the roots of the word worship, which comes from the Old English worth shape, or shaping what is of worth. We gather to glean inspiration from our highest ideals, to cultivate resilience, to face the challenges of our lives, and to connect with beauty, community, humanity, divinity. It is our hope that the shape of this time and place will lift up before us what is worthy, what is worth giving our lives to, and that we will indeed go forth ready to shape our lives, which exist in time and space, in the direction of what is more just, loving, and true. Historically, our fellowship used the word Sunday morning program rather than Sunday service or worship to emphasize that we are more inclusive, people who believe in God and who don't partake in a concept of God during worship, as well as people who believe in God, both and. But just as Thich Nhat Hanh has shared that Buddhists also pray, and he has said that it surprises some people who associate prayer with a Christian notion of praying to God for intervention, we Unitarian Universalists worship, and we have from the very beginning of our existence. We have a challenge in our country, and as soon as I say it, you will know it to be true. It's called Christian hegemony, and even more than that, Orthodox Christian hegemony, meaning that the Christian religious right dominates around religious words, practices, and ideals. But we, religious liberals, cannot cede these words, practices, and ideals. They are ours to claim. The Southern Baptists don't define what worship is for Unitarian Universalists. Unitarian Universalists define that. So please know that worship is not limited to what Orthodox Christians or even just Christians believe it to be. What we do on Sunday mornings is worship together. We have programmed a worship service at this time. So for the people who prefer the word program, no problem. Say that. But I will say, more than a few times, someone has come here for the first time and said, do you guys have a Sunday service? And it used to happen more often. So I think when we used the word program, it was kind of opaque. What do the Unitarian Universalists do? But you could keep saying it. But just don't counter others who do use the word worship by telling them that worship is only about God. You're imposing another tradition's definition onto ours. Buddhists and Unitarian Universalists have a right to pray and to worship in the ways that we do. Let's go more deeply into the dimensions of the time and space of worship. As Reverend John Burens, former UUA president, and one of my ministers growing up has shared, worship must reach out and stretch us in different directions, involving height and depth, breadth, and behind and forward. The arrangement of space and the order of service, including spoken word, music, silence, ritual, are what move us from one direction to another. Worship has height. It helps us to touch the transcendent. Music that makes your spirit soar. Words that celebrate life. Rituals that open us up to the mystery, and everything which allows us to touch what we believe is holy. Worship has depth. It helps us to be both rooted and to acknowledge our grief and what is broken. A spiritual practice like prayer or meditation or a chant might ground us. The stories or the sermon or the music might break the silence of our personal pain or communal grief or the collective realities of oppression. And I'll mention next week, I'll be preaching on reproductive justice. Worship has breadth. It moves us outward in the direction of community. It is inviting and inclusive. It points towards the community in our room, and it ripples out towards the wider human family. We do this through language and through intention, things like breaking the gender binary and thinking about how to welcome and include newcomers. Through representation, through story, song, sources, in a service, and over time through various services. Everything can't be achieved in 1 hour. We also do this when we light our chalice, which unites us with our Unitarian Universalist siblings around the globe. Worship stretches behind us. It is built on tradition. The covenant that we shared this morning by James Villa Blake was written in 1894. Just imagine the call to peace, the call to serve, the call to a spirit of love has been shared with those particular words from generation to generation. Worship also beckons us forward or up this mountain scene behind us as our spiritual theme of the year. It urges us to keep moving forward. It's an aspirational calling us forward to co-create a brighter future in our individual lives, here together, in our wider county, country, and global village. I would add another dimension to the ones that John Buren's lifted up. It is imminent. It moves us inward to listen to our still small voice as we sang about right before this sermon. Worship is a spiritual practice, honing our ability to hear that still small voice and to gain the courage to follow it once we leave this place. Worship stretches us upwards, roots us downwards, turns us inwards, opens us outwards, reminds us to look backwards, and inspires us to keep on moving forward. In our tradition, worship is diverse and varied. We don't have the same order of service from one congregation to the next, and here we don't always have the same order of service from one week to the next. And we allow for the wisdom to come from every angle. And so you'll hear religious professionals like your director of music ministries and your director of lifespan faith formation and your minister today. And on other Sundays, you're going to hear reflections from many different lay leaders. Again, if you'd like to join our worship arts team, you're invited next Tuesday at 7. Just email me, minister@muuf.org, and you'll be welcome. Worship is about ordering space and time in ways that invoke and invite encounters with the holy or the sacred, and that open us up to the path of wisdom and transformation, to the path that is worthy of our lives. And I'll end with this closing tale, a story that comes from a Hasidic rabbi. There was a Hasidic rabbi whose child used to love to wander in the woods. At first, his father let him wander, but over time, he became concerned. The woods, after all, were dangerous. The father did not know what lurked there. He decided to discuss the matter with his child. One day, he took him aside and said, "You know, I've noticed that each day you walk into the woods, and I wonder, why do you go there?" The boy said to his father, "I go there to find God." "That is a very good thing," the father replied. "I'm glad you are searching for God, but my child, don't you know? God is everywhere. God is the same everywhere." "Yes," the boy answered, "but I'm not. I'm not the same everywhere." I resonate completely with the point of view of that boy. It is true that we Unitarian Universalists do not believe that some lands and places are set aside as sacred while others are somehow profane. Yet it is also true that a weekly practice of ordering space and time has allowed for me the opportunity to invoke a deeper awareness of the holy, and of my connection with nature and humanity and the universe itself. It has happened on Sunday mornings, in our sanctuary at midnight, in hotels, at a general assembly, outside in our labyrinth, and in so many places and times when lay leaders or ordained leaders have arranged an opportunity to welcome the Spirit of love to come. So welcome the Spirit of love into your life. That is the answer to what we Unitarian Universalists mean by worship. And now our closing song, Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
And now, in our going, may the light of love bless us and keep us. May it shine down upon us. May it be felt from deep within us. May it radiate out beyond us. And may it make of all of us peace builders, people who offer compassion, people who seek to create change, to create joy. For this is the day that you and I are given. So let us sow seeds of justice, community, and gladness in it. Go forth and know that you are a blessing, and share that blessing of your light with the world. Blessed be.
Thank you.